Now, the Restaurant Association of South Africa has welcomed the country's move to lockdown level 1. President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the move last night. The curfew has been relaxed, now starting from midnight until 4 a.m. Alcohol sales are permitted under normal trading regulations. Restaurant Association of South Africa CEO Wendy Alberts joins us now for some reaction. A very good morning to you, Wendy. It's been quite a hard road the past full year. Your reaction to the president's address last night?
Certainly a lot of champagne corks popping around the restaurant industry yesterday. You know, we were very welcoming of the news that President Ramaphosa announced the move to lockdown 1. It came a little sooner than expected. So we certainly have extended our heartfelt thanks to him personally, the various minister divisions that we work with, as well as the lovely Minister of Tourism, for their constant engagement with us as an industry to look at mechanisms to continually bring economic relief. So we certainly feel that it is very, very valuable to us. It's exciting not only for the restaurateurs and the staff, also all those beautiful people who can now come back to work as we trade to around about 70% of capacity. And the entire value chain reopens, which just means more opportunities to create more jobs and bring more people back to work. You know, and I think just the general morale of everybody working now and the whole of South Africa as a whole immediately just feels better, and there's just a greater energy that's happening around the country since the announcement yesterday. Now, key for us is that people cannot forget that we are still going through the stages of COVID, that we need to remain safe, and that we need to be compliant and respect the restaurants and their operations so that we don't land up back in a terrifying position of decimation like we did in December, because, you know, that nearly crippled and killed the industry for a permanent situation.
Certainly the point you make about people returning to work is something to look forward to for sure. But how will you make sure that restaurants are observing the lockdown restrictions and adhering to the COVID-19 protocols?
You know, what we certainly have seen over the last 3 weeks is that Minister Cele's office, as well as all his authorities, have really been comprehending quite a massive execution on rogue operators. So we can certainly say thank you to the authorities in helping us mobilize the industry. You know, there's a zero tolerance from Minister Cele's office for non-compliance. And I think that is essential where we move to. You know, we as an association are not authoritative bodies, and the industry as a whole doesn't want to be jeopardized by a few operators who feel that they would rather have the inbound revenue coming in as opposed to keeping people safe. So they know who they are. They need to act and be responsible. They need to play their part in helping us stay open long past the level 1, and they cannot cause any difficulties in putting us back into any type of lockdown. You know, there's an opportunity for us now to bring economical reprieve. We can now move through. We can look at mechanisms to bring more people back into the workplace, and there will also be many more restaurants that will be able to open at this time. So it's a good time for everybody, and if everybody just plays their part responsibly and just does the right thing, you know, we can safely move through this next festive season or the next religious holidays or the Easter holidays that are probably more popular than what the festivities are over the December trade. So it's a very good opportunity for us now to springboard our businesses back and to look at reopening a number of those other businesses that haven't been able to trade.
So you will not be taking any responsibility in terms of putting up penalties for members who do not adhere to COVID-19 protocols?
The Restaurant Association of South Africa is a voluntary body. We are an advisory body, so we are here to give as much information and content to our members as possible. We have no mandate to execute any type of authority. And I think that is why we are so grateful for the relationship that we've developed with the Minister of Police and his various divisions across the country, who have really brought a massive halt to the rogue operators. So they continue to work with us and collaborate with us. Moving to all of this various levels of lockdown is about correct relationships, collaboration within the right mechanisms, and being able to meet the needs of the industry by talking to operators who feel that they're above the law, that don't need to respect the regulations and be compliant.
Wendy, you've spoken about this several times on the show, but just a count back of measuring how the industry, or what the amounts that the industry has lost since COVID-19 protocols and lockdown started.
You know, when anybody asks me to go into this conversation, it's a very painful conversation for me, because I'm often reminded very emotionally of those beautiful people's dreams that have collapsed. beautiful businesses that have closed. You know, COVID has affected us all, regardless of any of our circumstances. And many people have been left unemployed, desperate to be able to just work. And, you know, this has been a very, very heartfelt, heartbreaking time, and we've certainly felt hardship in this industry. And, you know, notwithstanding all of that, what I have seen over the last year is that we've got some of the most beautiful people, the most resilient people that have fought to keep their doors open, to keep people employed. And I will always recognize them for their tenacity, their hard work, their perseverance, and their dedication. And, you know, there's a massive flow forward that we need to work through to get tourism belts open, to get those doorways open, those little towns, the 1 hour drives from the city centres, and revive those beautiful areas. And as we move through it and we are responsible, we can certainly rebuild our country, and we can continue to be proudly South African. But we can't do it in isolation. We've got to do it with everybody. And that is why I always say thank you to South Africa for loving the restaurant industry as much as what they have over the difficult times. Because without the public, we would not have been able to survive the times that we had. You know, when we've called to them, they've come. They've loved the restaurants. They've supported us. They've bought takeouts. They've been in our businesses. And I can only continue to advocate a complete degree of personal appreciation for all the beautiful people who have kept our industry alive.
Wendy, you say you're just an advisory body, but just give us a sense, in your time of existence, have you ever had a previous situation where you've had to be so fully involved in the business of your members? And how far have you had to stretch your mandate in the past year?
You know, we've extended it beyond the call of duty. You know, we've certainly spoken personally to thousands of landlords looking at relief. We've spoken to the banks. We've asked banks to extend overdrafts, not to call back lending, to give certain rebates back on the credit card machines. We have gone through to areas where we've called on the local tourism to try and keep those businesses open, to call on the public to go and talk to the rogue operators, who sometimes is very scary because they're above the law, and, you know, they're running operations where it is beyond any type of comprehension for you or me, where bills are 75,000 Rand and they're in the upper income group, and they feel that they can continue to trade and that they have no responsibility to the industry. So we've really gone out of our way, and will continue to go out of our way to say one job, one restaurant, one livelihood, one life. It is what we do. It's the advocacy that we've got from the association. We are passionate. We are invested. We love this industry. I am deeply in love with the beautiful people who work in this industry, the operators who run it, and the landscape of the beautiful restaurants that contribute to what South Africa is all about. And if it's my personal pledge and my plea to this country, is to do everything I can to rebuild the tourism belt around South Africa and bring life to as many restaurants and doors that have closed over the last year.
And some of the lessons learned in the processes of lobbying government, processes which or experiences which might help you going forward?
Relationships are key, and the degree to continue with the relationships is very, very important. You know, there were a lot of mistakes that government may have made, and we need to work together. You know, the president has certainly done the level best that he could have done to carry this country on his shoulders through a pandemic that nobody knew, or nobody had any degree of what the destination would be at the end. And decisions have been made that have been unfavorable sometimes, maybe went into lockdown too soon or too late. But it's always easy in hindsight to say we could have done things differently. What we certainly have learned over time is that we need to ensure that we all work together and that we bring factual content, and that the transparency of information is always available, and that it's not confused by any measure. You know, that's been one of the critical things that we've seen, is when there are not clear lines of communication and they're not proper directives, and the channels and lines of communication are not passed through the authorities, the police sectors, the various value-added services that contribute to our industry. We see more complexity, the more pain and more difficulty. And I can only just wish now that South Africa stands proud through the next couple of weeks, and we certainly do look at this as a beautiful way to start rebuilding our country. We've got the best country in the world, the best, most beautiful people, the opportunity to be entrepreneurs and to create these gorgeous businesses. And again, I can just say that I am committed to this beautiful country.
And I suppose with more people back at work, people will be able to afford to go to restaurants.
Absolutely. You know, the most loved industry in the world, and in particular in South Africa. We've seen it through every level of lockdown.
Wendy, thank you so much for all the many times that you had to come through to talk to us in terms of how the impacts of the lockdown on your industry.
Thank you. It's my greatest pleasure to talk to you and to serve the industry. Thank you.
Wendy Alberts is the Chief Executive Officer of the Restaurants Association of South Africa. Of course, it relates to the question we're asking you. The country now on lockdown level 1 with minimum restrictions. What are your thoughts? Let us know at the agenda_SABC.